I'm gonna be honest. I don't feel about this one. I don't feel good about this one. I think I might have the Hawks too low. But let's talk about it. Hey, I'm Adam. Thanks for clicking on the video. We're talking about the Atlanta Hawks today, doing a little breakdown of their season, doing a little preview of their season, I should say, and talking about all 30 NBA teams. We're going in reverse order of how I believe the standings will be at the end of the season. So right now we have the Atlanta Hawks as the 5th seed in the in the Eastern Conference. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means. We're doing all, again, 30 teams, so feel free to find videos on your team, on teams that you feel like are sleepers, on teams that you think that might be a little overrated. And subscribe to the channel. Click the like button, and comment and tell me all the fun stuff that's on your mind. So let's just get started here. Let's talk about this good old Hawks team and what they did in the off season. So the off season, they didn't really have too much movement to be able to make. A lot of their team they're bringing back, which is always good. We love continuity. We love being able to bring guys back from the season before when they've had a good season. And so this team is really solid in that regard, that they're bringing guys back that they have already played in the system. Let's talk about free agency. Johnny Hamilton, AJ Lawson, Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, Gorgui Chang, Jalil Okafor. None of these guys are going to get huge minutes, so I'm not really going to spend too much time about them. Delon Wright it adds another guard player to the roster. He can probably, we'll break down rotations as well, so we'll talk a little bit more about him when we speak on that. And then Jalen Johnson and Sharif Cooper were their draft picks. I think the Hawks absolutely had a great draft. Being able to draft Jalen Johnson, who I personally thought and still think is a top 5 dude from this draft class, to get him at 20 is unbelievable, great value. And then Sharif Cooper falling to 48 in the draft was another one of those guys where I was just like, wow, the Hawks swooped up on 2 guys who have high ceilings. Maybe their floor is a little lower in the sense that maybe they don't even reach their ceiling because it's so high. And they have a hard time adjusting to the league. But the good thing with those players is that they don't have to worry about coming in and playing a huge role immediately. They can go work in the G League. They can go work with these players in practice, and then they can go from there. So I really like these 2 young players for the team. So let's move on and talk about what their salary cap situation is here. So as you can see, they did re-sign John Collins. I failed to mention that. They re-signed John Collins in the offseason. I thought it was just a good move. I mean, you don't want to lose a good player for nothing, especially when he's developed under you. You drafted him. I mean, it's just I always thought that the Hawks wanting to move off of Collins was a little weird. I just think he's a good player for the team and should be on the roster. Up next is Danilo Gallinari, who they signed last year. And his deal is a little bit crazy. He's making $20 million. I don't even know if he's going to break 20 minutes consistently on the team just because he's an older player. He does provide some shooting, some size a little bit, but he's still, super old. And I fully expect at the beginning of next season that they won't guarantee his contract and he will no longer be with the team. But you can do things like this when you have Trae Young still on his rookie deal. This is the last year where Trae Young is on that rookie deal. He's only making $8 million, which is less than what Delon Wright's making. So you have a little bit more flexibility when that's the case. So I'm not going to, knock them down a peg in my own opinion of how their cap sheet looks, because again, they're just trying to get guys around Trae Young and they've accomplished that. We'll talk about Clint Capella. I think his extension was really good for them to do as well. I think he's just a good center in the league, and I think he's serviceable for sure. I don't have any bad things. Now, he's not a guy who's an all-star. He's not a dude that I think is going to be a super, he hasn't reached his potential yet kind of a player. But I do feel like he creates such good stuff on the defensive end for the team. Offensively, he's a good roller to the basket for Trae Young. And I think he's really solid. So I don't have any issue with Capella and the money he's getting. And I hope he continues to produce. He's a good player. Bogdan Bogdanovic has about $36 million over the next 2 years. Another solid player. Again, he's a scorer. He can shoot, score off the dribble. Now he's a little bit of a liability on the defensive end, but he's a smart player too. That's a good pickup or a good player that they still have on their team. Won't really talk too much about anything else. I mean, DeAndre Hunter's solid still on his rookie deal. Onyeka Okongwu played some small minutes in the playoffs and had some bright spots. Lou Williams is still on the team. Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter is still not being paid anything in comparison to what he provides to the team. Jang, we already talked about. Solomon Hill. So this team, again, they're bringing everybody back. Here's the interesting thing then, the reason why I want to talk a little bit about the cap sheet for the Hawks. They do have an opportunity where they could potentially trade for a high caliber player. Is that Bradley Beal? Maybe. Is it Ben Simmons? Right? I don't think that's going to happen, but again, just kind of going through the list of high profile names that could be traded for. Well, they had the pieces, right? They have these young draft pieces. We talked about Jalen Johnson and Sharif Cooper. They have some guys on some pretty manageable contracts with Bogdan Bogdanovic, with Danilo Gallinari. So they have the ability to do this. So yeah, they do. I had to mute myself to cough. So when that happens, I look like I just teared up. You know what? I should tear up over this cap sheet because it's beautiful. And I do feel like the Hawks are in a good spot here to be able to land maybe a good player. They might also just roll with the dice and say, hey, let's just roll with the team we have and be able to move forward that direction. That's not a bad option. I do feel like the ceiling is pretty high for this team. Let's move over to our rotations now here for the Hawks. This is according to Hoops Hype. On Hoops Hype, they have Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and Clint Capella as their starting five. In the reserves, Delon Wright, Lou Williams, Kevin Huerter, Danilo Gallinari, Gorgui Dieng. So that all these veterans who played in the league for a while, with the exception of Huerter, but Huerter kind of came off in the playoffs a little bit and is definitely a valuable player for the team. And then they have these three young players that have shown flashes of being pretty solid. We already mentioned Johnson and Reddish a little bit, and then also Solomon Hill, who's another veteran for the team. I think this Hawks team, once they had, they brought in the new coach, right? Once Nate McMillan took over the team after Lloyd Pierce's firing in kind of towards the beginning of the season, they got better on the defensive end. They got better on the offensive end as well. So this is a team that I think will be top 10 in both defense and offensive efficiency. And, that is just the recipe for a team that's right there towards competing for one of the top seeds in the West or in the East. I have them at 5, but I am totally willing to move them up to 3. But I do feel like experience with the Heat already going to the finals and the Sixers, they are above this Atlanta Hawks team. So, with that being said, I do feel like Atlanta's at 5. I'm kind of willing to move them past the Sixers just with the whole Ben Simmons drama. But this is a team with a pretty good ceiling. It would not surprise me in the least if this team were to upset a Milwaukee Bucks team, if this team were to be able to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, because they have so much depth. They have experience. They have this really good young player in Trae Young. They have complementary pieces. They have young pieces. They have veterans. They have everything that you would want with a team. I kind of hope that they are a little bit better on the defensive end as far as kind of the perimeter defenders. We hope that DeAndre Hunter comes back from his injury pretty good. And I just think that this is, again, a team that is so good. And I'm probably a little too low on them. But let's talk about what Vegas says. Vegas has 47.5 wins for the Hawks. I will go with the over. I think this is a team that gets 50 wins. I think they are going to be a team that's going to be entertaining to watch during the season. Trae Young kind of took a step back last season. I think he'll maybe jump up to what he was in his second year where he kind of exploded and landed on the map. Because remember, Trae Young wasn't an all-star last year. The year before he was. So I think we kind of bounce back a little bit towards all-star Trae Young and he performs better and all these things. I expect a lot of things from the Hawks this year. And I know that they don't have maybe the sexy duo of players. Like they don't have even Boston's duo of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They don't have a Durant and Harden and Kyrie. They don't have a Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons for the time being. They don't have a Giannis and Chris Middleton. And that's where I kind of put them at 5. But again, in the regular season, I do feel like they can be up to a 3 seed. I will put them at 5 now. I could amend that and change that, but we will see. I definitely will take the over on the 47.5 wins for the Hawks. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm a little too high? Do you think I'm way too low on the Hawks? I love the team. I think they're really good. I love their cap sheet. I love their rotation. I love how they've built their team. But what do you guys think? Do you think they're going to bust out, or do you think Trae Young's going to explode and be maybe an MVP candidate this year? So we'll see. We'll see. Next video coming up soon. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next video.